Page 20. Settings. There are a number of configurable settings available for the Bus Plus. To access these, hold down the mode key whilst the Bus Plus is powering. There are a number of configurable settings available for the Bus Plus. To access these, hold down the mode key while the Bus Plus is powering on. Read through the information on the following pages to understand which switches affect which particular setting. When you are finished adjusting settings, press and hold mode again, and the unit will power cycle back into the normal operating mode. Brightness. 8 levels of brightness are available for the switch lights. Use the low THD and FB switches on the left-hand side of the unit to decrease or increase the brightness. The default factory setting is level 5 of 8. Relay feedback. You can enable or disable the relay feedback, audible click when a switch is pressed, of the switches. This affects the startup sequence and normal operation. To switch between enabled and disabled, press the 4K mode switch on the left-hand side of the unit. If 4K mode is lit green, relay feedback is enabled. If 4K mode is dimly lit white, relay feedback is disabled. Mix control mode, classic or parallel. The mix control can work in 2 different ways. Classic mode crossfades between dry and wet signals, while parallel mode keeps the dry signal 100% and brings up the wet fader as the control is rotated towards the fully clockwise wet position. The parallel mode allows for New York-style parallel compression very easily. To switch between classic and parallel modes, push the makeup control on the left-hand side of the unit. Fine LED indicator green is classic mode, the default setting. Fine LED indicator orange is parallel mode. When the parallel setting is active, the mode indicator LEDs, classic stereo, delta sidechain stereo, dual mono, mid-side, illuminate orange instead of green in normal operation to give a useful representation of this option being enabled. Also, with the parallel mix option selected, turning mix control fully clockwise will enable audition mode, dry 0%, wet 100%. In this position, the currently active mode LED indicator will blink. Audition mode is useful as it allows you to tweak compressor parameters while listening to the wet signal in isolation. Page 21, operating level, input gain trim. The 4K mode switch on the right-hand side determines if an input trim is applied. Press the switch to cycle through the options. 4K mode, white, 0 decibels. This is the standard operating level, generally suitable for most mixing scenarios. 4K mode, red, plus 10 decibels. A 10 dB gain is applied to the input stage. This is useful when you are interfacing the Bus Plus with an audio interface, or DAC, or digital to analog converter that has a lower output level, allowing it to drive the Bus Plus correctly. For example, this is recommended if connecting the Bus Plus to an SSL2 audio interface, which outputs plus 12.5 dBu at 0 decibels full scale. 4K mode, green, negative 5 decibels. A pad of negative 5 decibels is applied to the input stage. The operating mode might be useful for mastering engineers dealing with hot mixes, effectively altering the threshold range from plus 20 or minus 20 dB to plus 25 or negative 15 dB. Auto sleep. In addition to putting the Bus Plus into sleep mode manually by pressing CH1 in and CH2 in switches together in normal operation, the unit can enter sleep mode automatically after a specified amount of time of inactivity. Inactivity can mean either the pots and or switches have not been operated. It can also mean there has been no audio present above -5 dBu at the bus compressor input with 0 dB input trim. By default, auto sleep is disabled. Engaging the left-hand side HF bell switch enables auto sleep with a default setting of 20 minutes. Use the HF fast and LF fast switches to increase or decrease the activation time for auto sleep. Operating mode LEDs indicate the current auto sleep time setting. Page 22. Deep sleep and waking up. If the unit is in auto sleep mode, it's possible to make it wake up automatically simply by sending audio above 0 dBu. Alternatively, simply press the mode switch. The auto wake-up function requires part of the audio circuitry to still be powered. After 1 hour of inactivity while in auto sleep, the unit enters deep sleep, which is the same setting as putting the unit into sleep mode manually to save the most power, less than 1 watt of power consumption. In deep sleep, the only available mean of restoring operation is by manually pressing the mode switch. In auto sleep, a brief light animation on the operating mode LEDs occurs every few seconds, helping you to identify you are in auto sleep and not deep sleep. Input stage, low pass filter. Some DACs or audio interfaces, depending on the implementation, can exhibit excessive out-of-band noise. While you won't directly hear it, it may cause unwanted triggering of bus compressor and DEQ sidechains. When that happens, you'll notice the gain reduction meter being displaced, or the DEQ indicators lit, with no audio being played. It may also cause increased noise floor at high 4K mode distortion settings. To combat this, the Bus Plus allows you to engage an 18 decibels per octave, third order, low pass filter at 26 kHz. If you have the Bus Plus connected to an audio interface that exhibits this issue, you may need to engage this. The filter is applied on every input stage, including external inputs. You toggle the LPF by pressing the right-hand DEQ LF control. The activity LED indicates if the LPF is in or out. If the LF control LED is red, then the LPF is disabled. If the LF control LED is green, then the LPF is enabled. Page 23. Side solo mode. In normal operation, the side signal when soloed is presented on both left and right outputs, in phase. This can be changed to be presented after passing through the MS decoder, which gives in-phase side signal on the left output and out-of-phase side signal on the right output. You toggle the side solo mode by pressing the CH2 in switch. If the CH2 in switch is yellow, the side signal is presented on both left and right outputs in phase. If the CH2 switch is orange, the side signal is presented after passing through the MS decoder. Right-hand side meter on or off, stereo modes. By default, in normal operation, if the Bus Plus is in classic stereo or delta sidechain stereo modes, then the right-hand side gain reduction meter is disabled. However, this can be changed so that both meters light up and operate in these stereo modes. You toggle the right-hand side meter to be on or off in stereo modes pressing the CH1 in switch. If the CH1 in switch is dim white, the right-hand side meter is disabled in stereo modes. If the CH1 switch is bright white, the right-hand side meter is enabled in stereo modes. The backlight of the right-hand side meter will also reflect the current setting. Page 24, Factory Reset. To return the unit to the factory shipped state, you can perform a factory reset by following these instructions. Press and hold both channels, left and right, low THD switches during the power-up sequence. When the switches in the center of the unit start flashing red, release the low THD switches and the unit will reboot automatically with factory settings restored. Be sure to release the low THD switches soon after the central switches start flashing red, or else you might accidentally perform a deep factory reset, See bottom of this page for more information. Settings affected by factory reset. Switches states. Shaft switches states. Frequency and range settings for LF, HF, HF bell. Brightness. Relay feedback. Input trim. Auto sleep on or off. Auto sleep timeout. LPF. Parallel mix mode. Side solo mode. Right hand side meter on or off in stereo mode. Deep factory reset. The Bus Plus offers a deep factory reset, which is the same as the standard factory reset described above, but it also resets the transient expander to be unavailable or locked out. To unlock the transient expander, you must once again win the built-in Code Breakmaster game. To perform a deep factory reset, perform the same actions described for the standard factory reset, but keep the switches held for a few seconds longer until the central switches start flashing green. Then release the low THD switches and the unit will reboot automatically. I'm going to skip this section right here about this game. Page 27, the prize, unlocked transient expander feature. Congratulations on breaking the code. As a reward, you have unlocked the transient expander feature. Returning the Bus Plus to normal operation, press and hold the right-hand side low THD switch. You will now be able to press and hold the HF bell switch to engage the transient expander feature. Turn it green. When active, the HF control is no longer associated with the DEQ. The DEQ HF band is temporarily sacrificed, and instead, the HF control functions as a transient expander control. Rotate the control from 0, 12 o'clock position means no transient expansion, to fully clockwise EXP, maximum expansion. Push the HF to toggle the transient expander in or out. The HF LED lights green, orange, red to give you an indication of how much expansion is taking place when active. Page 28. Bus compressor meter calibration. The Bus Plus can be put into meter calibration mode. This mode allows the meter needles to be calibrated for optimal alignment against the 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20 marks, when being used to display the frequency and range settings of the DEQ. To enter meter calibration mode, hold down the left-hand side LF fast and HF fast switches while the Bus Plus is powering on. Please note, calibration only affects the DEQ settings mode, frequency and range, and not the meter's normal operation compression. 0 mark calibration. Upon entering meter calibration mode, the needle of both meters will be resting near the 0 position. For this 0 position only, you should use the front panel flathead screwdriver adjustment to move the needles closer to their 0 positions if necessary. 4 mark calibration. When you are happy with the 0 mark calibration, press the left-hand side FB switch to move on to the calibration for the 4 mark. The meter needle moves toward 4. Next, use the left-hand side LF fast / HF fast switches to move the left-hand side needle as close to the 4 marking as you can. LF fast moves the needle down and HF fast moves the needle direction up. Do the same for the right-hand side meter using the right-hand side LF fast, HF fast switches. Page 29. Calibration marks 8, 12, 16, 20. When you are happy with the 4 mark calibration, repeat the same process to line up marks 8, 12, 16, and 20 as closely as you can using the LF fast and HF fast switches. Use the left-hand side low THD and FB switches to go to the previous or next lineup positions, should you want to make any changes. Calibration marks indication. In addition to the bus compressor meter needle moving towards each mark, the following LEDs light red to indicate which mark is currently being calibrated. EXTSC DEQ left LED is 0 dB, mark mechanical alignment. Classic stereo is 4 decibels, mark calibration. Some sidechain stereo, 8 decibels, mark calibration. Dual mono is 12 decibels, mark calibration. Mid-side is 16 decibels, mark calibration. EXT-SC comp right is 20 decibels, mark calibration. Saving the calibration. Important. To save the current calibration and exit, press and hold the mode key and the unit will power cycle. If you simply power cycle the unit from the main switch, the calibration will not be saved. Page 30, troubleshooting. UID display. UID display mode displays the UID number of the firmware currently in use and the hardware revision of both main card and front panel card. To enter UID display mode, press and hold the left-hand side FB switch during the power-up sequence. Number of digits for each item. Firmware UID, 5 digits number. Mainboard hardware revision, 1 digit number. Front panel hardware revision, 1 digit number. Digit selection is performed via dedicated switches. And you can read them on screen. Once the required digit is selected, the information is obtained by counting the number of indicator LEDs lit up green. For example, if the current digit is 3, this will be indicated by post DEQ, makeup fine, EXT, SC comp, LEDs all lighting green. The indicators involved in this process are as follows, in increasing order. And you can see that on screen. If no indicator is lit, the current digit is 0. To exit, press and hold the mode key, and the unit will power cycle. Page 31. Soak and potentiometer test mode. Soak mode is used to check the current operation of all lights and indicators on front panel. It cycles through the phases listed below. To enter soak mode, hold down the left-hand side 4K mode switch while the Bus Plus is powering on. And then you can see the sequence on screen. In this mode, it's also possible to test the correct operation of the potentiometers. A position change on any of the pots will trigger the relay to click as a confirmation feedback. To exit, press and hold the mode key and the unit will power cycle. Power check. The Bus Plus has a built-in system to self-check most of the internal power supply rails. If a fault is detected at any time, all the rails are shut down for safety and a user warning is triggered on the front panel via the 4 center section indicators. Classic stereo blinking red detected a fault on the plus 16 volt rail. Some SC stereo blinking red detected a fault on V-pot rail. Dual mono blinking red detected a fault on 15 volt rail. Mid-side blinking red detected a fault on negative rails, combination of plus or minus 16V raw, negative 15V, negative 16V. Once a fault is detected, it's possible to manually trigger the reboot of the unit by pressing mode for 1 second. If the unit keeps failing the power check, please get in contact with SSL support. And that's basically it. I'm going to scroll through the specifications right here so you guys can see that for yourself. But that is the user manual. Nice little unit. I can't wait to try it. And maybe I'll give it a remote virtual user review at some point. I just don't have anything to use it for. And oh, look at this. A cheat code for the master game. Unlock the transient expander. Desperate to try the transient expander but don't have the patience to win a game of Codebreak Master? Read on to discover how to unlock the transient expander without having to win the Codebreak Master game. Power on the unit while holding the mode key down to enter settings mode. Press and hold the right-hand side HF bell key for 2 seconds to toggle transient expander mode on or off. If HF bell is lit green, then transient expander mode is enabled. If HF bell is dimly lit white, transient expander mode is disabled. See the bottom of page 27 for more details on this mode. Okay, and then there's a bunch of safety notices. Look, not my problem. You guys can read this for yourself. If you actually have the hardware, you should read this anyway. You know, I know that some of this stuff seems redundant, but it's important so you don't possibly damage your unit by mistake. So, there we go. And I'm going to keep scrolling. You guys can pause this at any point if you need to read it yourself. And that is it. Thank you all for watching this video or just listening to this Bus Plus manual. Copyright goes to Solid State Logic, but I figured I'd read it for you all so you don't have to, and so that we are all better audio engineers in the end. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And I hope you like the beanbag sound.